Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. This is Amy Howlett for the trustees of the Village of Saxtons River, calling our November 7th, 2022 meeting to order. It's by remote only, online with Zoom, and we are ready to begin. So I put on the agenda this time adjustments to the agenda. I've been noticing that on other municipalities. Is there anything you would like to add to the agenda, which is already very long? And how do you feel about having this as an item at the beginning of an agenda? Comments? Go ahead, Carl.
I'm not sure I see the point of it. If we add anything to the agenda, we can't act on it.
Right. If we discuss something, we have to ratify it at a later meeting. But it gives you the opportunity to officially renegotiate the agenda first thing. Other comments? All right, I think I'll leave it for a bit. Carl, if it bothers you, please speak to me and I'll take it off.
Does it take the place of other business at the end?
Well, it's an opportunity to reorganize up front.
Okay.
And to make sure that that we don't miss something that's really important that's just come up.
Okay.
On the school board, we used to even use it just to readjust the order of things. Yeah.
Public comment. Is there any public comment from the people present? Gordon, Stan? Okay. I do have one thing. Celia Bohannon emailed me with a village center tax credit program. It was clear to me once I read the specifications that it was aimed at private ownership in an historic district of a designated village, which of course Saxtons River is. So I forwarded it to places with historic significance along Main Street, just to make sure. So if you wanted to put in a lift or a sprinkler system, it offered a tax credit. So I just wanted you to know that that's the kind of thing that happens occasionally. Proposals are due by January 16th, and I'm happy to provide that information to anyone who wants to get in touch with us. We are up to the Athens fire contract. I received a message today from Sandy Caponcelli saying that she would not be here. And I see no one else here from Athens. So, I mean, we attended that meeting and we asked for, we entered executive session and no action was taken. I sort of think the ball is in their court. And honestly, I don't know what happens. Anything you would like to comment on?
Well, I agree with you. I think that we were expecting to hear some feedback from Athens and some points to discuss. And I don't see that we have anything to act on in the feedback from them.
So our offer stands and we wait to see who blinks. Okay, this could be a very short agenda. This is great. So number 5, the fire feasibility study. I wish that, oh, there he is, as if I'd summoned him. Matt is here. Matt, we're on number 5, the fire feasibility study. Do you want to recap for us the fire committee, what's happening with the feasibility study?
I don't know if he heard you.
Can you hear me, Matt?
Just now, I was having troubles getting on.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're on number 5 of the agenda, the fire feasibility study. And I wondered if you wanted to recap the discussion at the fire committee. I know you have another meeting coming up, maybe next week.
I don't know what to say to that. That's the meeting that you attended, correct?
I did, yes.
Yeah, if it's fresh to you, then you can go ahead and give an update. I'm just been battling my computer to get onto this meeting, so.
Okay, well, I'm very happy you're here. So, Ellen, when you initially worked with Gary Fox on the grant for the USDA, we saw this as a first step in moving towards a firehouse.
Right.
It seems to me at this point that all 3 municipalities are discussing fire service throughout the municipalities, and there seem to be some real concerns, I think, basically around the cost of equipment. So since the USDA hasn't responded, it looks like we're moving towards paying an individual consultant, or I suppose a consulting team, to review things like the number of fires, the number of calls, geographic location, who shows up, what the service actually looks like in action. I believe it's going to come up at the next fire committee meeting, but I wanted there to be an opportunity for you to have feedback at our meeting while it was just the 5 of us.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let me just see here. Should I follow up again with Gary? I mean, like, would we get him on board at all, or is
No, it's clear the USDA is, well, it's clear they haven't gotten back to us. And his interpretation is that we're not going to get the grant.
Right, okay. And that's the last thing that I remember.
Right.
So nothing's changed, okay.
Bellows Falls voted to spend $5,000 on the feasibility study. We had hoped that they would come in more around 10. Remind me, did we originally say we would spend 5?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We did.
And I don't know, I expect this will come up at the tri-board meeting. But I wanted to make sure that if you had strong ideas about the actual facts that should be collected, that everyone had a chance to weigh in. The other thing that Gary said to me during the 37 Main Street meeting is that he now believes we are too small to get USDA support to build a fire station. So you can double check with him. It was a very quick conversation on a very crowded evening. But I think that originally he gave us the hope that there would be grant money, and it looks like that was unfounded.
Well, I do remember we couldn't apply for the feasibility. The town of Rockingham had to because we were so small. So that would make sense. But yeah, that makes sense.
So if there's nothing more, then I guess we're ready to proceed. Go ahead, Matt.
I'd like to make a motion that we spend $5,000 to do the private study of the fire station feasibility study.
I second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the Village of Saxtons River contribute $5,000 for a feasibility study of fire services. Does that seem accurate? In the 3 municipalities?
Yes.
Is there further discussion? Yes, Carl.
I'd just like some clarification about what this feasibility study is going to be looking at. Matt, can you?
Well, it's the same thing as what was going to happen before, that an entity is going to look at Rockingham as a whole. They're going to, and I'm just, I won't say I'm speculating. I'm just, I don't have a paper in front of me saying this is what they're going to study, but this seems to be, they're going to study all of Rockingham and the fire services of the three different departments. Response times, the coverage areas. As we are now, it's split up into three sectors or sections of Rockingham as far as who covers what area. So the study would look to that, the number of calls, and basically what we had talked about at the tri-board meeting and at the fire equipment committee meeting was, there's people saying, seems like we have too much fire apparatus for one town. We have 3 stations and we have pumpers and tankers and this and that, and looking to have somebody put it all together and say, you need, for your area and for the number of calls and the type of calls, you should have X, Y, and Z. That's my take on the whole process. It's probably more involved, but and it would be just a suggestion of what is needed. So again, at the board meeting, one of the Rockingham select board members brought that up, and so I think it's a good idea. And I thought that was going to help us, being Saxtons River, have the information that would be useful in applying for grants to build a new fire station.
So Carl, I would add to what Matt just said, that this is our opportunity to say what we want the grant to study.
I don't know.
This is not a, something that you go and buy off the shelf. It's something that you lay out. And in an effort to help us lay it out, Scott Pickup sent around the Triton study that Brattleboro is using to examine its EMS services. That's not because we want to examine EMS services. We don't. But the kind of data they collected, they said they wanted collected, was meant as Scott thought might be useful to us in terms of what we could ask for and study.
And you could, because we couldn't get a grant from the USDA or funding without a feasibility study. So I believe that to be true for everything. So if you want to do any kind of loans or grants, you have to have some kind of feasibility study done in order to assess the need for it.
Yeah, I think the other issue is whenever fire services come up, the emotion in the room gets high very quickly. And I think this is an effort to provide some facts and figures that might help to leach some of that emotion away. So somebody said to me, I bet there are a lot of calls to places that are wired in, like Vermont Academy and Kern Hatton, where microwaves and popcorn poppers trigger the alarm system. That's something I had never considered, but that's actually something I'd like to know, because that's not using a pumper truck. I mean, maybe the pumper truck goes, but that's, in my mind, that's a very low level kind of call. And I have no idea what proportion of our calls would look like that. But now that it's been brought up, I kind of like to know.
Yeah, the only, and Matt, we can talk about this later. I'm not sure if it's now or later, but I don't know who, for contacting a private group to do this feasibility study, do you know who to contact? Okay, all right.
No.
I don't either, so I wasn't sure.
Right,
So Gary would issue an RFP,
right.
a request for proposals, as he did for the municipal planning grant. And it would say things like, the winning bid will include scrutiny of the following data items. Maybe it would,
Whatever they are.
yeah, whatever
Okay.
they are. The consultant would meet with the 3 fire chiefs individually. The consultant would produce a report outlining X, Y, and Z. So there'll be a specific product written, and then it'll be sent out for bids.
Okay, that makes sense. So we can,
And it's a guess on Scott's part that we can do this for $20,000, but he's in the business, so I think that's an educated guess.
okay.
More discussion. Okay, we have a motion on the floor that the Village of Saxons River contribute $5,000 for a feasibility study of fire services in the 3 municipalities. It's been moved and seconded. Are we ready for the vote?
Mhm.
All in favor signify with a show of hands. And it's unanimous. Okay, no need for opposition. Number 6, the Walk Bike Committee proposal for a 6-bike rack. So this is a committee that is coming out of the Bellows Falls Community Bike Project, I believe. Rick Cowan, who I think sits on that board, contacted me to say the committee has invited us to share the cost, which is $1,040, for a 6-bike rack to be installed on the east side of the village market. Rockingham is willing to pay $520, and they would like to know whether we would pay $520. The quote is a current quote. It comes from an organization that is doing a lot of bike work around the state. That's Local Motion, which is headquartered in Burlington, but they've been involved in projects far beyond Burlington. So that's a proposal to us.
I mean, so it's $1,000 roughly total.
The total cost for the bike rack is $1,040.
And so the town of Rockingham is $520 contribution. And it would be next to the market.
Yep.
Well, it seems kind of like an expensive bike rack, but I don't have any bikes, but I think it's a good idea because I think it would bring, you have a lot of those bike tours going through town, and it might be something they would appreciate.
Carl, I can't tell. You're just fuzzy enough that I can't see whether you have a hand up or.
Sorry. No, I don't.
Okay. Stan, I know, is interested in speaking. Are we ready for him? Go ahead, Stan.
There we go. Okay, yes, I'm on the bike committee,
Oh, great.
and this is one of the things we've been working on is trying to get bike racks located around Bellows Falls and Saxons River. And we've looked at the market as being a logical first spot here in the village. And what it is, it would consist of three hoops that can hold 2 bikes each. And currently looking at,
Oh, okay. I know what one.
kind of like the ones down at 802 Credit Union, if you've seen those.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Not that nice, but but about that same concept, just a simple U-shape hoop. So in order to get this process moving, we're just looking at seeing if the village would want to, again, to share that expense.
Mhm.
Looking at the east side of the market, exact placement is open right at this time.
So the east side is the side with the big bulletin board?
Yes,
Okay, I figured, but
yeah, and be somewhere behind that. We first looked at up against the building, but and Peter Golick expressed concerns with snow and ice coming off the roof, damaging it. So I was talking to Brandy today about maybe behind the bulletin board.
okay.
And Justin, where her picnic table is there. So that's still in flux. And again, like Amy said, we're working with a local motion out of Burlington, and they've provided us with the cost. And there's simple three hoops on a track on tracks, so they'd be movable or. And that's really at this point where we are. We'd like to get it in. I'm going to assume maybe looking at next spring as we're getting into time when people aren't going to be riding. But the goal is to try and capture those groups of cyclists that come through the village, give them some place to lock their bikes at, when they stop for a drink or what have you.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Matt, did you have your hand up?
I did, but he answered my question. So.
Oh, okay.
Good. One question when I was talking to Amy, or not Amy, Brandy today is she's not sure who owns that bulletin board. Is that the village?
I have no idea. I thought it was hers.
You have to ask.
I guess that's an Ask Louise Loring question. I don't know. Do any of you?
No, ask Averill. She'd probably know.
Okay.
Or Louise.
I will ask, or you can take it on. Would you like me to ask Stan? I'm happy to reach out to both of those people.
Yes, I would, since I don't know who.
Okay. So we're talking about Averill, who ran the store till she sold it to Brandy, and Louise Loring, who was in charge of this board until she stepped down.
Okay.
I will check with both of them, and I'll get back to Brandy with that information.
Okay, that'd be great.
Are we ready for a motion, or is there not enough interest? Where are we with this? I'd love to have a motion just so we can vote.
I can make a motion.
What's your motion?
You guys will have to help me if I screw it up. I make a motion to allocate $520 in funds towards the bike rack to be installed in the village of Saxtons River.
Can we
Or to be
say
purchased.
specifically at the village market?
No, not yet. I think that
Okay.
let's just decide on getting it first, and then we can figure out a location.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to allocate for the village to allocate $520 in funds towards a bike rack to be installed somewhere in the village of Saxtons River.
Right.
Okay, further discussion. So you don't like the idea of plonking it next to the store, Ellen?
Oh, no. I'm not saying that at all. I do like that idea, but let's not, lock ourselves in right now, because we've got all this stuff going on with the ARPA funds. And if it's not going to be to spring, I'd like to get more input too from others.
Okay. I think there's a bike rack to the left of the Saxtons River Inn. Stan, can you clarify? It looks like one.
It does look like one. I have not checked with anybody on that. And if I could just make clear, I'm not sure in as far as the timing. I mean, I'm thinking right now, this time of year wouldn't make much sense, but I don't know exactly what the rest of the committee has in mind. But I mean, I will go back to them. We meet on Thursday morning.
Okay.
So
We only meet once a month at this point, unless we set a special meeting. And it sounds to me like Rockingham has already allocated the funds. Is that correct?
I was at the meeting and I honestly don't recall if they've actually voted on it. I would have to double check on that. It was presented and I honestly don't recall if they voted on it or not. And should have known that or check with Rick on that, but.
Okay, let me see if I can go back to the wording. Okay, on October 30th, Rick Cowan wrote to me saying, we're wondering if the village would split the cost with the town. We've talked to Scott and Chuck and they're amenable to the idea. So I agreed to bring it to you for discussion and a possible vote. Matt?
Where's the money coming from?
We'd have to identify a source for it. It is $520.
Okay.
I didn't get out my town report to look at what we have. I expect in the absence of another fund, it could come from the general fund. It doesn't seem to me appropriate for it to come from the rec committee that's allocated specifically to the Saxtons River Rec. I don't think we have a, marketing and tourism budget. It is interesting, this proposal. So after 37 Main, people have been talking to me. People have been talking about the proposals that came. And a friend of mine said, I'd just like to see a proposal that really attracted a younger demographic to Saxtons River. And I thought, gee, I wonder what that would look like. And I got to say, a bike rack in some ways looks like that kind of a proposal. I think they were commenting on the idea of senior housing in Saxtons River. So was that a hand, Matt? It looked like your hand came up.
Oh, it was, but you were getting a little off topic, but you brought it around, so.
Okay. Yeah. Carl, did you have a hand up? And I see Rick also.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Rick?
I'd like to see a more clear proposal of what the town is offering to do. It sounds very vague what the town is willing to do and like what, are we, I'd like to see some specs on the bike rack. I'd like even just a picture of it. That this is just a pretty vague ask here, in my opinion. Can we have $500 for a bike rack? We're trying to put together money to build a firehouse or something. There's just so much going on that 500, it doesn't sound like much, but our budget is not that big. And for the village of Saxtons River to pop up $500 for a bike rack is not a small thing. We were trying to raise, when we were talking about getting speed signs, we had to try to raise funds for that, and that fell out of the sky. So I'm
looking to see. Yeah, I don't.
So we do have a spec sheet that the committee put together that if you folks would like, I could forward to you. It gives just the kind of concept of what we're looking at. And some of the options we've looked at.
Stan, if we put this discussion off for a month, would that be a problem since we're talking about installing it probably next spring?
I don't think it would be, no. And like I said, we'll be meeting on Thursday and see if we can get a packet of what we got to send out to the trustees.
How does that sound to you, Rick? A packet, specifications, a photo, and maybe we could ask whether the Rockingham Select Board has in fact taken action on this proposal.
That would be my preference.
Okay,
At least to have more information.
You can do that.
And is there a bike rack next to the inn? I mean, if there's a bike rack there that's open.
it is a bike rack. It's not a great one. It's
No, it's not.
it's black.
It's not in a great spot, and it's what they tend to call a wheel bender, and that they have a tendency to damage the wheels when they go in. The ones we're looking at, you would be able to anchor the bike at 2 points on the side. So I will get the information into the trustees, and I was thinking something else I can't. Oh, and when you were reading through the thing, I could be wrong again. I'll double check with Rick, but I think the town, Scott was looking at using some of his discretionary funds. So I'll double check on that, and
Okay.
I could come back if we want to revisit this next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds great. So first Monday in December, we'll be meeting again. And since it seems like it's not critical that we vote tonight, if it's all right with you, we'll table this discussion until December. Do we need a formal vote on that? You're our meeting junkie, Rick. Can we just agree by consensus to postpone the discussion for a month?
We've got a motion and a second, so we have to
You're right.
On that.
just vote no on it, and we'll bring it up again. Or
Does that seem appropriate to everyone?
Or whatever Rick suggests.
Ellen can withdraw her motion.
There we go.
I can.
Yeah.
I liked my motion.
Repeat it to us.
Ellen moved to allocate $520 in funds towards a bike rack to be installed in the village of Saxtons River. Carl seconded the motion.
Mhm.
I was thinking when she made the motion, damn, she's really got this thing down. Allocate funds.
Fine, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Very good. Next.
Okay, so we will reconsider in December. We'll wait for your information, Stan, and I will check with Caleb and Susan Saunders and ask what's happening with that odd little bike rack. I agree with Stan. It's not a great looking bike rack, but let's find out what's going on.
Yeah, with everything we got going on, I was kind of surprised to see that pop up on the lawn. So next meeting would be December 5th.
That sounds right. Anybody looking at a calendar? That's a
Yeah, it is.
Monday. Yeah. And I don't think it's a holiday of any kind. Yep. Okay, on to the next.
Thank you.
So sidewalk parking in the village. Matt, I think you asked to have this added to our agenda, so I'm going to give the floor to you.
Yeah, not that we have any authority, but there's vehicles up on Pleasant Street that were half parking on the sidewalk. And Sunday, when we went for our walk, they were completely on the sidewalk. And I just wondered if maybe a call or a short note from the chairperson, the Saxtons River Trustees, just notifying them that blocking the sidewalk wasn't in the best interest of safety for walkers. A lot of people have mentioned it. We don't, like I said, we don't really have any there's no signs up there. There's no, I don't think there's an ordinance, but kind of common sense.
There are lots of things we don't have signs about that
Right,
we
right.
know
So I
are
just
poor
wondered,
practice.
so I just brought it up and just wondered if that's something that you would do. I'm not going to do it, but I just thought maybe a note or a call to the, it appears to me that it's a renter, but I don't know that for sure at all.
We start off simply saying something to the effect of a friendly reminder from all of us as trustees. Maybe taking that approach is okay.
Yeah, I
Or,
think
or many people in the village have complained that the sidewalk is by one or more vehicles, and
Right, yeah, incorporate that in.
they really need to be parking in the driveway.
Yeah, I think that's good.
It seems as though the property, and I don't know the number of it, just started, yeah, something changed over there, and these two new vehicles are there, and one's a very large truck that is, like I said, was on part of the sidewalk. Now it's completely on the sidewalk.
okay. So somebody made a remark that we don't have the authority to ticket. Is that
No.
clear?
No, we don't have any authority to ticket. You can put a note on the vehicle, but I think,
Well, we employ the sheriff.
What would they be in violation of?
exactly, right,
Well, I'll check with Andy.
We don't have a parking ordinance in the village.
right.
Do we have a parking ordinance in Rockingham?
Yeah, I just thought that, maybe something coming from you, a phone call, a visit, a note mailed to them, just, so they're aware people are not happy with this. And
How
then
do Okay,
if nothing happens there, then I guess call the sheriff and say, hey, what do we do?
well, I might start with our own guys first.
Well,
Andy
it's
and
not-
Chuck.
Right, Andy is aware of it. He's heard of it. When I walked around the sidewalks with Andy and Scott, as we went up through there, I don't know if the vehicle was there or not, but he mentioned that. And Andy doesn't have any authority to do anything about it.
Okay,
He's maintaining the sidewalks and the roads. He's not policing them for
Yeah.
vehicles not parked properly. So
okay.
just wondered if there was a way we could just put it out there.
So do we know who the vehicle belongs to? That wasn't clear to me.
No, I don't know.
So I'm
the
just
person.
wondering how Amy contacts them if we don't
I'll
know.
ask around.
Well, yeah, it's, again, I was gonna find out what the number of the house was, but it's the second house on the left before, I don't know what that road is that cuts over to the school.
That Burke Hill? No,
Well, it is on the other side, but
okay.
the first entrance to Vermont Academy. So it's the second house before that, big white
And-
one.
I'm assuming there's not adequate parking. That's the issue.
There seems to be. There's quite a few spaces, but it could be that, people have to move vehicles. I don't know. It doesn't matter. If it's a rental, and that might be something we want to look at also, is it a single or multi-use as far as sewer usage? If it's listed as one and there's a rental, then they need to change their
Yeah, let's not go there. Let's take one step at a time. The issue here is parking, correct? Parking in a place that we don't want parking.
sure.
We don't want vehicles parked. Okay.
Right.
I will inquire. Somebody did email me about this issue.
Yeah.
So I can go back to them and try and get a house number and more specifics. Is everyone okay with this approach? Does anyone have something else to suggest?
Yeah, I think it's a fine idea just to start with a friendly approach and not automatically, go at someone because they may just not, nobody probably told them, or at least I would hope that would be the situation.
Okay. Carl, thoughts?
Sounds like a fine way.
Rick, you
to start
okay?
out.
Okay, moving on. Village input for the 2023-24 town budget, including sidewalk upgrades. So this was something Carl reminded me we had mentioned in a previous board meeting. I had thought that we were trying to get organized to give feedback to the town of Rockingham for budget items that affect Saxtons River, such as work to be done on the sidewalks. And I think, Carl, you corrected me that you thought it had to do with our budget. At any rate, we have an item here on the agenda to address.
But which one does it?
I think that what we talked about at the previous meeting was giving some input to the town on budget items for roads and sidewalks specifically. I think that's where we were coming from. And our budget would be something entirely different.
Yep. When are they starting their budget?
I believe it's November.
Oh, so we're there.
Yeah.
So,
You did a walkthrough, I think, Matt.
oh yeah. And regarding the item 9, the intersection up there, Hartley Hill and Westminster West Road and Westminster Street, and then over the sidewalks from there down to the bridge, the one from the post office to the next bridge and up Pleasant Street. So are we looking to make a list of items and forward it to the town manager just to keep in mind? Is that?
Well, we all put it on the agenda.
So, and this is for I'm sorry, I got distracted for sidewalks. My apologies. Yeah, because
It's
Just
for
because-
items that are in the Rockingham budget that have an impact on Saxtons River. So
Yeah.
typically, they've actually been very proactive about coming to us. So several years ago, you remember, we had paving throughout the village, and they
Mhm.
came to us early on to say, we're going to be lifting the manhole covers. You should know that when that happens, typically some break. Here's a recommended
Oh, yeah, I remember
figure to
that.
put into the budget, so
Mhm.
that when they break, you'll have money to replace them, money from the capital budget to replace them.
Yeah, because I just I wanted to make sure that I thought that they were doing the sidewalk up to the rec area, and I went for a walk last week and it wasn't done. I thought it was like close to 99% certain that was part of it. So
What's that? They were
gonna pave or fix the sidewalk up by the rec area, because it comes up nicely here in front of my house. But then when you get to well, actually, that's not the village of Saxtons River anymore. So my apologies. That's the town of
No, it's
Rockingham.
okay. That, I think it's expected that since we own the rec area, we take an active
Oh,
interest.
yeah.
And we're Rockingham residents too, folks. So,
Mhm.
so you're speaking about the area, say, from Quarry Hill to the rec?
Right. Yeah.
So we could reach out to Andy and find out where we are. We could reach out to Peter, who is our very able chair on the Rockingham Select Board.
I can check with Andy.
Okay.
I mean, about that, or about Anything?
Yeah, why don't you ask him what the figure is for sidewalks that have an impact on Saxons River?
Okay,
Does that
No.
sound appropriate?
No, if we're gonna do something, then let's list out those items that we just talked about and send it to the town manager. I don't know, I don't understand. I mean,
Why we would go through
why,
the
why
highway
we're, why are
department?
we
who's-
talking, why are we trying to figure out what they're doing from Pleasant
well, then
Street to the rec area? I don't.
I think the suggestion was that Ellen contact Andy, who's in charge of highways and sidewalks, with a list of what we'd like worked on.
oh, no, I was thinking more just,
Yeah.
where it was in the budget, because then if we put our requests in for the budget, I don't want to duplicate what's already being covered. Or does that make sense? Like, for example, if that's part of the plan already.
They'll sort that out.
Yeah, I,
Yeah, we just
think-
need just a list of stuff to remind them that these sidewalks here and there, or paving on roads, and they're gonna do what they can do or what they want to do. All we can
Carl?
do is point it out.
I was just going to say, echo what Rick had said, that we should just tell them what we see as priorities and they'll figure out.
Okay,
If it's already on their list, they won't try to do it twice.
Right.
Exactly.
They'll
Exactly.
figure that out.
all
I
right.
think that was a long way that I was trying to get there.
Yeah. Rick, would you add anything to that?
Well, just if we give them our list, it might help prioritize some of the things that they were already thinking about. Like if they're, if we tell them we want Pleasant Street sidewalks redone, they might say, oh, well, there aren't any sidewalks on River Street, but we were going to do here.
Well,
but-
we're looking for some new ones down here. To heck with Pleasant Valley Road.
but it might help redirect them to what we think is the more important to the village than what they might be seeing.
Well, yeah, I just, I think I initially had brought this whole thing up. It's just like a reminder not to forget us. And, walking through with Scott and Andy, Scott asked Andy which one is prioritized. And he seemed to think that Westminster Street was, because it's, below the road grade, but then they obviously see the one going from the post office to the next bridge is just horrific. It's about 2 feet wide and cars are right there. So they see it, they know it. I don't think that reminding them or just listing it out that they're going to jump from one to the other. Oh, they want this and they're going to go there. They're the ones that are going to prioritize, I would assume.
I think they'll pay attention to what we say is important, but I
Yeah,
think
it
it
can
was
be-
great that you took the time to walk them through and actually show them.
Oh, yeah, they understand, but, Scott's just saying, money wise, it's going to be a long time. And they have to go looking for grant money to help do these sections. So it can be presented as a list of things that we see as a village trustees, not necessarily in order of importance. I don't know if that helps.
So I think I got most of what you were saying. So it's Westminster Street. It's the sidewalks from the post office going west.
Yeah. So what are the two roads there? I don't even know those two. One's Burke Hill
Grove
and
Street,
what's Grove?
Grove and
Grove.
Burke Hill.
Yeah. So the section from Grove Street to Burke Hill. Pleasant Street from 121 to Infinity.
From 121 going north.
Yeah. And then
So
Academy
are you talking about,
on the left side, both sides, really. I mean, there was one that stops in the middle of someone's lawn.
so I'm sorry, I think I'm losing track of what you're talking about. So
Okay.
What's the sidewalk on 121? Describe where it starts
Starting.
and ends,
Main Street is 121.
right?
So starting there and
Starting
up.
where, Matt?
Starting at Route 121.
He's talking about on Pleasant Street, starting
Pleasant
at,
Street, right at the end of Pleasant Street. And
Oh,
one-
okay, I'm sorry. So the sidewalk on, from Main
starting
Street
at-
intersection with Pleasant Street going north?
Yeah.
Okay,
And then there's, Academy Ave. I mean, you could just put Academy Ave. I think both sides need it up there. So they're going to just see the list, and I mean, you kind of have it in a list of importance there. And I had mentioned, as I had said before, that the one on Westminster Street should be extended to the end of Hartley Hill. So people don't have to walk in the road to get to Hartley Hill.
and that I think is a real problem area.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are walking in that road on that bad corner, but
And a lot of people taking their lives into their hands, crossing back and
Yep.
forth and trying to get onto the road. Yeah,
the other thing on the list is the intersection of Westminster Street, Westminster West Road, and Hartley Hill. I mean, it's just, if we just have this list and just present it every year, then it'll be helpful or make me feel better,
okay,
help them plan long-term, short-term.
Yeah, sounds good.
okay. Matt, I know you're already doing the fire committee, but you seem to be on top of this list. You don't want to be the person sending the email to Scott and Andy?
I would rather not, given all, yeah, my schedule is 7 days a week, so I'd prefer not to, but
All right, I'll make that list.
Amy, do you want me to do that?
Yeah,
No.
I could do it too.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, is there other village input for the 23-24 Town of Rockingham budget?
oh, also on that list, whoever's making it, I had spoken to them about a crosswalk at the end of Pleasant Street, crossing. Crossing 121 at the end of Pleasant Street. And they seem to be in favor of that it would be an easy one to do.
So there's no crosswalk there? Huh. Okay. Okay. So I thought we were going to ask, so number 9 is an update on the intersection with Hartley Hill and Main Street. I think we were given the indication about a year ago that there was historic information on that intersection.
Yeah. Yeah, I had seen something that was from Wyndham Regional. But it wasn't a popular one because of its configuration. So I don't know what Scott and Andy will come up with. They were going to try and do something with signs and line painting, but
Okay, so I can add that as a question.
sure.
Okay. Cybersecurity I put on, I was interested to hear that the town of Rockingham and the village of Bellows Falls both signed up all the members of their boards for cybersecurity training. And I would have said that I didn't need it, but I almost got suckered into what looked like a legitimate financial discussion with Sarah Campbell. And it turned out when I looked more intently at it, because it did set off alarm bells, that it was not Sarah Campbell I was discussing things with, it was a spoofed account. So it brought home to me, at least, the need for some personal beefing up of cybersecurity. And of course, our information is out there. Our meetings are broadcast on Fact TV. It's easy to go to the website and watch a meeting. The attempt to spoof me sounded legitimate because it dealt with the kinds of payments that we typically make. So I thought I'd bring it up. What's your feeling on cybersecurity training? I'm guessing that some of you may have already had some. I'm looking at you, Chroma.
Yeah,
I get plenty.
we have a really we have a really good one that comes out. I think it's monthly, and each video is less than 3 minutes long, and it's a spoof, and so it keeps your interest. And it's really it's called Mimecast, MIMECAST. I don't know the cost, and I was actually, Scott Pickup had mentioned something about it, so I was going to recommend that to him because it's way easier than sitting through like 15 minutes, half an hour sessions. You just do these in like an average of 2 minutes a month. And they're
kind of
really,
like little Saturday night live skits almost.
yeah, they are.
It's
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Would you make that recommendation to Scott, Ellen?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I don't know cost, but maybe.
Is that something you'd have access to, Rick? The cost of the,
You
Oh,
could
I mean,
ask.
I could find, yeah, I can find out.
Either one of us can ask.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think that
okay.
would be a very helpful recommendation.
Yeah, because I think it's the best one I've ever seen.
A lot of that stuff depends on like how many people you want to do and how often. It's not, this isn't for like an intensive, like what you might be looking for, need Amy. This is like, like Ellen said, they're short little bits that come out, every occasion. The really big thing is just to like really look at what's coming from and double check email addresses, make sure that it's one, one that you recognize.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that this is around, like, sharing of information, what you send on to other people, and about it's for what we're looking at is a lot more than just general email practice and security. It's about like, Matt asked you for some information. How do you send Matt that information?
Yeah. Well, I know that
Box?
we have had, Carl, you've certainly been on top of the email spoofs and the Vermontel issues.
Yeah.
I don't know. As I said, it gave me pause. I always think, yeah, training, great idea for someone else. But
Yeah, this one, they took into account at work,
mhm.
something that would keep people's attention and not aggravate everyone. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Well-
So yeah, I'll send it to Scott.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Committee reports and updates. So the municipal planning grant for 37 Main Street. Carl, do you want to start it off, or would you rather have me keep talking? I think it'd be great to hear from you. And Matt, you were there also, correct?
Mhm.
I will, you're talking about the last session.
Yes.
Well, you won't like what I have to say. I was disappointed in that session. I came away feeling that I got next to nothing from it. And I'm not sure that I was able to give any input that would have benefited the consultants. The reason, at least, and this would pertain to my group, is we could not hear. Instructions were not clear. And so we were spending a lot of time spinning our wheels trying to figure out what we were supposed to do. Time was short. And I don't know what we were meant to do with those maps, plots. There wasn't time to draw anything or give any meaningful input with us. So I didn't think it went nearly as well as the first session, which I thought was really well done. But this one, at least in the group that I was sitting in, And part of it may have to do with the acoustics in that gallery. Part of it may have to do with lack of attentiveness of other people participating, yakking about other things over the directions, but it
didn't feel productive.
it felt unproductive.
Yeah.
I left wishing I hadn't gone.
Uh-huh. Matt?
I was all right with it. It's just an exercise. It's just, I didn't go to the first one, but obviously they're, just bringing things forward for people to think about. But yeah, I thought it was good. It was great to have that many people there being involved in it.
So we did have about 60 people turn out.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, that included people like Wendy Harrison, who I think
Wow.
was there to understand what the issues are in Saxtons River. And, she's running for office. So I take that with the understanding that she wants to know about issues, but she also wants to be seen struggling to know about issues. I actually, I think, was more concerned after the first session than you were, Carl. But the consulting team has consistently redeemed itself by what comes back after they analyze the data. And the consulting team did not have a meeting with that data this week. That meeting is going to happen next week. So that's the proof of the pudding for me. If that process of writing down pros and cons of the ideas that people saw works, then we will have more elaboration of the good and the bad of those ideas. And it is confusing, but I agree with you. Lousy acoustics make a situation that could be mildly annoying, profoundly annoying. So I'm sorry about sticking you in the gallery.
Well,
Yeah.
There's limited spaces. I think they were from the design of the exercise trying to do too much in the short time that they had available. But maybe they needed all that.
Yeah. Well, I could tell they were running behind. I mean, I saw the original schedule and I was a little disappointed that it took so long and we didn't have more time to work on the plans. The next event is the presentation to what the team called the client. And the client in this case is the Village of Saxtons River, the Town of Rockingham, and the Main Street Arts Board. So one thing I wanted to ask you is, what would your preferences be for this presentation? It could be by Zoom. I think my thought is that it would be better not to have another big public meeting. That it's great to have the opportunity for questions and for further elaboration. And that was something that we really saw last Wednesday night. There were lots of questions about what the intent was, how Main Street Arts was going to sell this, who would the buyers be? I mean, people are still figuring out what this planning effort looks like. But it seems to me that when we hear the final report, I'm not sure I want there to be a lot of public questions, because that assumes that those questions will be answered. But maybe I'm coming at this from a bad angle. What's your preference for receiving the final report? They'd like to do it in person. They don't mean it just to be a written report, although I know there will be a written report. Matt? Well,
I would assume that it's public, regardless of whether it's Zoom or in front of, in person, right?
Don't know. It's up to us, kind of. We're the client.
Right, but we're part of the
we
public,
are a
so
board. If we intend to take action, we'd have to warn it and have it with public comment.
Right. Yeah, well, probably in person, but I guess just to have an agenda that they're not going to be working through all the details and all the questions that arrive in everyone's minds about how do you do this and what did you do about that. Zoom, yeah, seems a little impersonal for the amount of work that was put into it. Unless they are just going to do a, a paper report or a,
No, it's
email.
both. We asked for a face-to-face presentation. I think we put that in the original grant, although honestly, I haven't gone back to read the original grant, but I know that's part of their assumption. Of course, they are an educational institution, and part of this process is making sure that their graduate students come out of this with
Yep.
some skills. So
Right.
I think that's partly why there's a presentation.
So my assumption would be that after this second meeting and this garnering of pros and cons of everything, they're going to come back and say, number one, number three was this, number two was this, and number one was this. It's not that any of those are carved in granite and that's the final thing. They're just
No.
saying, this is what the public said. And then it's going to be up to all the other entities to decide what does happen, or Main Street Arts, number one.
Yeah.
Since they own the property.
Yeah.
So then that could be just the end of it for the village.
Gordon?
Yes, here I am at the beach.
Thanks for taking time.
I think for me, just having everybody there, there's a lot of informal talk that goes on, which I think is, some of it is just fun and some of it can be useful because, and then people show up and you say, oh, who are you? Oh, I just moved here, that kind of thing. So that kind of thing is good. And I think probably I don't know how they'll structure it, but to put in small groups again, if they present it and then say go into a small group and discuss it, it's going to be better than if you have 60 people with their hands up like this. So, but that's probably, I don't know what they have planned, but
No, it's not going to be, this is not another, the final report, the final presentation, I'm just going to keep using the word presentation, is not going to be another thing where we work on things. It's going to be, okay, we've done this project, we've
Right.
wrapped it up, here it is.
Yeah, it's not going to be any more discussion about it.
Well, I mean, we can ask questions,
Right.
but it's not an
That's what
effort
I-
to
that's what I
bring the
mean.
village of Saxtons River together again to work further.
that's what I mean, asking the questions, 60 people asking questions. But anyway,
Right.
I like, even so, I think, okay, so we all get together, they present a report, probably not in paper, probably,
Both, I think.
huh?
I think
Right,
it will
but
be a
not for-
presentation, but we'll also, I mean, we've been promised all the data they collected, for example, that I think we saw a little bit during the PowerPoint, the spreadsheet of the feedback that came from the first 3 public input sessions. So the first meeting at Main Street Arts, the tabling at the post office, and the tabling at the village market. So that input generated a long spreadsheet with a lot of data in it. The number of times people said cafe, what people said about green space or farmers market or senior housing or affordable housing. All those things are information that will come back to us in a written report.
And then?
And then it's up to us. It's up to Main Street Arts. It's up to us. It's up to the town of Rockingham.
Well, I think, again, it's up to Main Street Arts, number one, what they
Sure.
do to it. Do they sell it to someone, a private developer? Do they gift it to the village of Saxtons River, or what? So that's, I think, number one, it's up to Main Street Arts for the next
Mhm.
move after all of this. So we don't have any say on that.
So,
Well, I think they've been eager to hear from us, Matt.
Right,
Yeah.
but they're not gonna ask us what to do. This is the process, and then maybe they'll come and discuss it with us, but we don't own the property, so.
so if it's a public meeting, why would I want to go?
I'm trying to figure out what kind of format would work.
Yeah.
One thought I had is that it could be on Zoom, which would mean that it could be open to a large group, but there wouldn't be that ability to go into small groups and discuss, which I think is probably not necessary. The other thing is that I'm very aware that in Saxons River, many people get their information about municipal meetings by watching it later on Fact TV. In fact, I think with the school board, that's a real strategy. You know, people say to me, no, I don't like to watch that stuff in person. I wait till it's already happened and then I can watch it and, you know, move in and out as far as I want. It's going to be complicated figuring out how to do this. I wanted to make sure that I asked this board first. Matt, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I can't imagine, I know you've mentioned it a couple times, but I don't see that this meeting is a culmination. And I don't see that we're going to be split up into groups to go discuss anything.
We're not.
So I just say it's a public meeting, do the same thing at Main Street Arts and let's be done with it.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing nothing. Go ahead. Go ahead, Carl.
I would.
Carl, is there something wrong with your lens? I can barely see you.
I'm hiding.
Quite a
I
fog.
don't know, I got, yeah, there's something wrong with my camera, I think.
Okay.
I think having a meeting in person would probably be preferable to Zoom for something like this.
Okay.
Not as convenient for the people who have to travel, but
They seem to be willing to do that, so. Okay, anybody else? And
You think 60 people will show up at the annual meeting?
I don't know. I mean, I've been thrilled with the turnout. And I'm also, I think I heard one of you just say this, I'm also really happy about the way the conversation seems to be percolating in the village. You know, it's a topic of conversation.
We on to the next topic?
Yes, we are. Saxons River Park. Is there an update, Carl, on working with Mike Slack to trim the far side of the fence?
Mike Stack is not interested.
Okay,
He said he would be willing to come down and take part if we got a group of volunteers to work on it, but he's not interested on being responsible for doing it.
okay. All right. Do we want to talk about access to the river? That was one of the most interesting things, I think, that came up during the wide open public discussion. I know this isn't where 37 Main Street is, but why in a village of Saxons River is there no public access to the Saxons River?
That's a good point. And then, you know, like after all of that, I completely agree. We should be showcasing it.
We got some brownfield issues where everybody tramps through and swims, but there's a way
They
to
were
do
doing
it.
that for years until the park went in,
That's true.
myself included.
Yeah.
I'm
All
not
right.
sure, is that a pro or a con for being able to do it?
Yeah.
For me?
Yeah.
I think it's a pro.
I'm not hearing a motion or interest.
Next,
Fire station.
still
Any
need one.
updates?
Nope,
Wastewater treatment plant?
still running.
Okay. We are up to the routine matters for discussion. So minutes for approval from October 3rd, October 20th, and October 24th. Did I miss any, Carl?
Nope.
Okay,
Motion to approve October
Second,
3rd, 20th, and 24th.
and Rick, you were the
2022.
second on that?
mm,
Aye.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to discuss the minutes of October 3rd, October 20th, and October 24th. Carl, are there any remarks you want to make?
No. I
Okay,
said there were some corrections in the minutes to October 3rd, which I sent around.
Okay.
Version to everybody.
Thank you.
are we ready for a vote?
We are.
All in favor of approving all three sets of minutes? And it passes unanimously. Warrants and bills in Ellen's absence. I went back to doing the warrants, which was actually kind of fun. I have been delighted not to do them, but so Ellen, I don't remember what you've done, but I color coded because, you know, there's nothing like a little color coded spreadsheet.
You're so good.
So let's see if I can make this a little bigger. There we go. Oops. Not too big. Is that big enough so you can read it?
Yeah. Well, not just down at the bottom, if you scroll down.
Yeah, I do have to scroll down. So these are the bills that have come in since the beginning of October. I've put notes for Sarah on the right for most of them. Everything here is pretty routine, with the exception of number 22, the ESO bill. That's the Rescue Squad report software. And I believe number 28 is related to that software. This is a request from Art Smith that it turns out we need to pay $500 for an additional module to upload the call signs from our mutual aid. This has to do with the fire balance.
Yeah, he said it was a one-time charge.
Right.
Mhm.
Most of these things you see routinely. I will point out that there are two items for payment to me. The fire department asked me to pick up a laser printer, which I bought at Staples. That's actually a great deal. It's a laser printer plus toner plus a warranty. We got the last model on the floor, and it made sense to me to have a 3 or 4 year warranty just to make sure that we weren't going to run into any problems with it. And it still came in at $197 total. Are there any questions on any of these items? You can see that it's a whopping $79,862. That's basically because we have the 2 sewer improvement bond payments. These are USDA withdrawals, but I put them on the warrant so that you would see them. $51,482 and $3,872. The other 2 large amounts are our payment for our wastewater treatment operator. And just the way the month fell, we actually have 2 payments, one for the invoice of November 2nd and one for the invoice of October 4th.
Nicely done, Amy.
Are there any comments?
Yeah.
Okay, I see Matt and Carl. Carl, go ahead.
Line 20 and 21, those should be the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. That's what that should be billed to, not the general budget, I think. I'm not sure of the accounting, but I think that comes out of the upgrade account.
Yeah, the account numbers are actually on the bills, on the notice for the withdrawal. This is something that was set up some time ago. This is not Sarah Campbell writing a check. This is a withdrawal from an account that's been set up to happen in
I just want
perpetuity.
to make sure that we're taking things from the right place.
Sure. Thanks for catching that. Matt, you also had a hand up.
Just a comment, maybe a change. Village of Bells Falls, the 547633. That's not just Rob Wheeler's salary. We put something different there. Just as that's our, what, monthly, or is it?
That's our monthly payment for the
Yeah.
operator of the wastewater
Right,
treatment plant.
operate wastewater treatment plant operations or something, just so that.
But it is salary. You prefer not to have it that way?
Well, it's the contract with them. It's not just Rob Wheeler's salary. He's not the only
Okay.
one working there, so.
Operations contract, wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, other changes?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
All right, the total is $79,862.86. And this is an unusual month for income. One of the ARPA payments came through, so that's a $53,000 amount. So we have a warrant for November 7th in the amount of $79,862.86.
I'll make a
Is there-
motion to accept the $79,862.86.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the warrant for $79,862.86. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, show with hands. And it's unanimous. Great. I will tell you something that I've done, and you should feel free to chastise me. Let me stop. So I originally signed us up for an opioid settlement, and I heard some feedback from colleagues of mine that it was a lot of work for very little return. You had to establish a portal, do regular reporting. The money went to local efforts to curb opioids. And it turned out that the amount that the village of Saxtons River would recoup from this activity was $53. So I made a single-handed decision not to pursue those funds. I'm happy to hand over that paperwork if somebody else would want to take it on. I had no problem in doing the ARPA paperwork. That seemed very, very useful, but it just seemed like a lot of work. I think the town of Rockingham got $1,000 in return for theirs, but $53. I couldn't do it.
Right.
All right.
Nope.
Let's see. Is there other business? So
Yes.
when do we start? Okay, go ahead, Matt.
A couple items. ARPA monies. We had a total amount that we were receiving. I know we just used some of those.
Yep.
It was what, one? Do you have an amount?
I haven't looked it up. I'm bad with numbers. My recollection is $146,000. Is somebody
Okay.
who's good at these things remember?
Okay. All right. Just a FYI thing, as I talked about some months ago, trying to use that money for the village of Saxtons River and upgrading the rescue truck. And that is still in the works. And we were hoping to have numbers this evening to show the trustees. So I would caution using any of that money at this time. But that's just
Do we
my,
have a report for December?
it was supposed to be, I was supposed to have those numbers for tonight's meeting. So I will push to have that available.
How about December 5th?
Sure.
Unless it's so critical that you need a special meeting?
No, I'm just saying, we have this money. I had, said was looking to hopefully do this for the village, to upgrade the vehicle because it needs upgrading. We're not getting the grant money to replace that vehicle through the town of Rockingham. So I think it's very important for the village to pursue this. So I will try and get that for, what is it, December 5th?
I think that's what someone said.
Okay. So that's that one. Did Athens show up?
No.
Okay. So
Sandy
we-
Capintelli wrote to me to say
Yeah.
that she would not be here. I didn't hear anything from anyone else.
Do we need to be doing something for our next meeting? Do we need to,
We have a contract bid out. They have not responded. The sense of the meeting that I got when we convened and discussed this earlier, Carl could read back the minutes. I'm sure he wrote something down, but the sense that I retained was that it's up to them to make a number and to reach out to us with a number, and they haven't done that.
Well, I think the sense was that we were waiting to hear back from them and reaction or response to the proposal that we had given them. I had understood from our meeting with them that they would be
Here,
discussing it and would get back to us, and they haven't. I don't think that there's anything else for us to do at this point.
okay, well, I feel we made a couple of missteps there and didn't follow up immediately after the last time we tried to move on upping the amount. So I don't want to leave it hanging and go too late. Right there.
we made our offer in good time.
Right.
So we're
Yes.
okay on that this time. I think the ball's in their court, Matt.
Right. No, I'm just kind of just mentioning it just so that we don't go, and they send us another $5,000, which is first of the year, I think. Is that what the contract was? Is it
So the
Jan?
payment is made in September. The contract, typically they put the amount, they have their budget meetings and it is ready for their consideration during town meeting. So back that out, I'm sure it's November, December that they're putting their budget together.
Okay, so, all right, again, I just don't want it to fall and be dropped. Do we at some point say, what are you doing? Or we just leave it?
I think we did that
That's
when we met with them in October.
Okay, all right, just don't want to drop it, that's all.
Unless you, Amy, feel that you need to respond to Sandy, say, oh, sorry.
I did respond to Sandy. I said to Sandy, let's see. Thanks for the invite to the meeting, but I will not be attending. I do not know at this time about David or any other member of our select board. Sorry for the last minute cancellation on my part. And I wrote back, thank you for letting me know. And what a great open house Athens put on Sunday. So that's the extent of my communication.
Okay, I know you said the payment's made in September, but I guess I don't have that agreement in front of me currently. But does it run January 1st to January 1st or December 31st or?
I
I
think
know
it isn't.
they usually pay like 6 months after or before or something.
They typically pay in September, I think after a tax
Yeah.
collection period.
Right.
And I believe the agreement, we did have this discussion. I believe the agreement is approved as part of their FY23 budget. So it's approved at town meeting, at their town meeting. They need the figure from us now.
Mhm.
And I don't know how their fiscal year runs. Does their fiscal year start after town meeting, as some do, or does it start January 1st?
Yeah, I just wondered if there was a date on the agreement, that we started this agreement, and so I guess I'll have to find that document. That's all I'm getting at. I don't care about when they approve it or when they pay it, but just how it runs. That's all.
Well, I think we all saw, and I believe they saw also, that it would be better to review that agreement. But right now we're in the middle of negotiations. So
Yeah,
I'd kind of
okay.
like to get through that before we yank up the agreement and discuss that. I agree, 94 until 2021, it's definitely time to review it. But one thing
Okay.
at a time.
Okay. All done.
Anything else, Matt?
Nope, I'm done.
Ellen?
Nope.
Rick? Carl?
No,
Motion
Okay,
to
so I
adjourn.
have one. When does winter parking, hold on, Gordon, when does winter parking start?
November 1st, I believe.
Do we
Yeah,
need
that's what
to
I
do
thought.
anything?
Town issue,
It's a
Town.
Rockingham issue?
I believe
Yes.
so.
And we don't post anything on the roads or anything?
They do.
Okay, well, we said it at the meeting. Don't forget, everybody, November 1st, town parking rules go into effect, so.
It was 4 days ago.
That's right.
5
So,
days ago.
Gordon, you had your hand up and I see that you're enjoying the northern lights now. Did you have a comment that you wanted to make under other business?
I missed a few meetings. I'm curious as to whether there's any more information about the bridge, the 121 bridge in Bellows Falls.
It's been put off for a year. The contractor, I think it was Raynaud, maybe some of you remember the name, backed out. It turned out that the steel could not be brought in. So it's back to the drawing board, and we will not see that bridge we will not see that bridge work in 2023. The earliest would be 2024.
Okay, but any safety issues?
they
Are
say,
there safety issues?
Yeah, on the bridge, if it's.
Oh, is it safe to drive over? Is that
Well,
what you're asking?
if it's being put off, I guess I'm asking that, yeah.
It is safe to drive over.
Now,
Yes.
If you question that, either call the town of Westminster, which is their bridge, or
yeah.
Department of Transportation. That's nothing we have engineering on.
Yeah.
Say whether it's safe or not.
We did ask those questions, so I don't know if you were involved in this, Gordon, but the Agency of Transportation actually came down and presented at a Rockingham meeting. And the Westminster chairman of the board attended, and I think 2 people came from the Rockingham Select Board. So we asked that question: is the bridge safe? Can we continue driving over it without fearing for our lives? And the Agency of Transportation said yes. The work needs to be done at some point, but it is safe to drive over.
great.
Thank you. You're welcome.
That's good. I can stop going on back Westminster Road. All
Yeah, save that for 2000, for when the work actually starts.
yeah, right.
Okay, items for the next 2 meetings. So the next 2 meetings, there are items for the tri-board meeting, so let me mention those. It was suggested that we discuss recruitment, retention, and training for public safety officials. So this is a memo from the League of Cities and Towns. And the suggestion is that we should read it and be able to comment and discuss at the tri-board meeting. Are you okay with that idea?
So what are we doing? What do we have to do?
So the topic is recruitment, retention, and training of our public safety officials. So this would be, in our case, the sheriff's department. In the case of the village of Bellows Falls, the police department. And in the case of the town of Rockingham, I don't think they have safety officials. So the League of Cities and Towns has written a somewhat lengthy memo that deals with this topic. And I can't remember whether I sent you the link to the menu or not, to the memo or not, but I'm happy to send it again. It looks like it is going to be on the tri-board agenda. I'll send it again.
All right.
The other question that Peter Golick asked me today is whether we would be willing to discuss the rental ordinance that the state of Vermont recently turned down for Bellows Falls. This had to do with inspections, and the safety of, I think particularly fire inspections of rental units. And apparently the fire safety people in Springfield felt that Bellows Falls needed to be more in touch with them. So they asked for the ordinance to be officially turned down by the state. So I think that will also come up on the tri-board meeting. Are there other issues that you would like to see brought up?
Yep.
All right, hearing none. What about our meeting? Anything in particular for December? Budget issues. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I would like to start talking about our budget in December.
Great.
We normally work through the budget worksheets in January and February, but since we're only meeting once a month, I'd like to start in December and continue in January and have the final budget out in February so that we're ready for our April meeting.
That sounds great. I'm going to give you notice already that I am taking off for 2 weeks in April. So I'm interested in having the meeting in early April or after April. Typically, I believe it's an April date that we shoot for, but, and of course, you're welcome to have the meeting without me. But I've got that date set aside for travel.
The last 3 meetings that we had were on April 12th, April 25th, and June 5th, the last 3 village meetings. June 5th was 2020 when COVID put us off.
Okay, thanks.
Just so you know.
April 12th, 5th?
12th, 25th, and
Okay.
June.
Okay. And June 5th.
Yeah.
Wow. So we also have the possibility of doing a special meeting if we need to for the budget. But I think your idea of beginning in December is great. Do you have a particular assignment for us?
No, I think that what we'll start doing next time is looking at the worksheets that we have. I think we might want to think about whether or not we want to have some additional budget categories for expenses that come up that we hadn't foreseen, like grant application or grant funding or bike racks, because we have been asking a lot, well, where's the money coming from? I think at some point, probably in January, we need to make sure that all of the figures that we're working with in our budget and that Sarah's preparing in her report match, so that we don't have the same issues of people saying, well, you say this on page 1 and you say this on page 3. So make sure that everything is consistent as we get closer to the meeting.
Okay. Those sound like very worthwhile goals. Other comments about the budget process? Everybody okay with starting it in December?
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, that's fine with me. We don't need an executive session. Is that everybody agrees?
Yep.
Okay. All right, there's been a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Amy.
See ya.